All right. Hello out there. Welcome to another Solace Devs coding, live stream coding. I'm here today. My name is Aaron. I'm coming at you live from Singapore. I'm going to bring in my colleague and friend, John. Jonathan, say hello.
Hey, everyone.
Jonathan is architect in the CTO office. Well, do you want to introduce yourself, Jonathan, actually?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I work in the same team as Aaron in the CTO's office as an architect. I work closely with our event portal team these days, trying to sort of bring to life the grandiose vision that we have for this product. And I'm actually in Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right, excellent. So it's just early morning for you, I guess, 9 a.m. getting started for your day, huh?
Yeah, perfect timing. Not as great for you.
Yeah, that's all right. Got your coffee though?
I actually just finished it.
All right, okay.
But I have my water bottle, so I'll be hydrated.
Okay, so today we are here to present to you and show you well, it's not going to be a sneak preview because it just kind of went live, but it is our beta version of the Solace Discovery capability built into the Solace event portal that can scan your existing Solace applications, your brokers, your message VPNs, detect topic hierarchies, allow you to build those, and then import that into the event portal designer and start to build events from your existing data rather than having to do it the other way around, which has been up until now kind of going into the designer and creating events and topic hierarchies kind of from scratch. Jonathan, jump in here at any time if you want to say something.
So maybe one interesting thing. So of course now I'm gonna sort of plug myself a little bit. So we have EDA Summit coming up, which is I think it's kind of the first of its kind thought leadership summit around how to be an event-driven organization. And so one of the presentations actually done by yours truly is actually about sort of elevating the value of your events through this thing called Event API products. And so one of the things that I think you'll find interesting in that is that it kind of does begin with this concept of discovering your events. One of the whole premises that we've, talking to customers, I think Aaron and both of our experience, kind of indicates that any organization of any reasonable size has event brokers, and it's got different types of event brokers, and really these event brokers, people lose sort of, what is actually in them. And kind of the premise of that whole discussion is there's actually gold that can be mined out of these different event broker types through discovery. And I think that's sort of a key enabling capability that I think you guys, hopefully in this, will find very exciting to see.
There may be gold. There may also be sludge that you're not.
That's right.
That you might want to clean up.
Yep.
So there's all sorts of things when you go digging around and looking. Topics and consumers and old, endpoints lying around that maybe you didn't know about. All sorts of stuff going through your broker that maybe you don't know. And what better way to kind of scan it and discover it and start to document it than this tool that we're going to be showing today, right? So we're going to be following very broadly a kind of a quick Codelab tutorial that I've written up. It is going to be improved and detailed a little bit later. So putting the URL up here, if you want to follow along with what I'm doing, this is it. And Jonathan is going to be watching over my shoulder and making sure I don't do anything incorrect. Hopefully. So I'm just going to move you over onto that screen and put in my background here. So here we are. Codelabs.solace.dev is our landing page for all of our various Codelabs that we've written over the last couple of years. How to integrate with REST, how to integrate with Kafka, all sorts of things. Code generation, RabbitMQ. Switch this to recent, and here's the most recent one. Discovery your event portal, updated today.
So how many of these Codelabs do we have at this point? Like the list keeps growing.
It does keep growing. Only a year ago, I think it was 5. So
yeah,
maybe now we're, I don't know, what is that, about 20?
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, so am I. I've only written about 3 or 4 of them, I think. So yeah, and they're open. We encourage contributions to them. Whoop, wrong one. There's actually a Codelab to create a Codelab that Tamimi, our friend Tamimi, did. which is actually super, super useful for like how to actually, if you want to contribute, any Solace people out there, any Solace lovers, Solace users, or people that, that are MuleSoft users or whatever that use Solace under the covers. If you want to create and submit a Codelab to us, here's how you do it. Just check it out in GitHub, do some stuff, and there you go. All right. Well, let's get going here. Oh, I'm just going to close my door. 1 second, please. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's start on this. So first of all, basically, as I said, this is not a fully complete step-by-step hands-holding tutorial, but it is going to go through the steps and what I'm going to be doing and showing you today. The prerequisites for this are a Solace Cloud account. This is how you access the event portal. It's free to sign up. So if you don't have a Solace Cloud account, be sure to go and get one right now. I'm actually going to be using my personal account. Everything that you see here is available through, like my personal account, my free account that I signed up for with my personal email address, not my corporate one. So everything that you see me doing is going to be free. And Docker, you need a copy of Docker running somewhere. I see some things popping up here on the banners. Of course, we are live on YouTube. We are live on LinkedIn. If you have a question, feel free to put it up in the chat. YouTube chat in the comments, LinkedIn on the comments. It will show up here, and we will try to get to you. So if you have a question for myself or Jonathan, great opportunity to query us about the new topic discovery capability and any of the other event portal stuff, because Jonathan is kind of the architect of the event portal. It's his baby, and we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, the more questions, the better, I would say. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
we don't want to just talk here for an hour and a half. We'd rather answer some questions. So it would be great if people have questions to do. I do actually. Oh yeah, okay. So I'll try and keep an eye on that, and as we move through here. So what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at some data about U.S. aviation. So some flight data, as well as ground control data and some other data. This is provided via a live stream that Solace has. It's not in its final resting place yet, so that's kind of why this Codelab's in a bit, it's not quite complete. We are going to be building a marketplace of various live streams of various types of data. So if you're just getting new to Solace and you want to kind of play around with it, it's much easier to get started if you already have live data being published from somewhere, GPS data, taxi data, banking data, payments, fake simulated stuff. So we're going to move this eventually. But if you want to see what this is, there's a link here. Let's click on that.
In this case, the cool thing about this data feed is it's not simulated, right? It's actually the live data that's coming out of the Federal Aviation Administration here in the United States. So, if you use FlightAware or Flight Radar, any of that sort of data feed is very similar to kind of the data that you can get here.
That's right. So this is, this is not simulated, and it's not really that delayed. It's quite live. So, if you want to click on this map and zoom into your hometown, wherever you live, and see if you can see a plane going over your head, you might actually be able to see it.
Yeah, so one thing as well, another shameless plug. God, I'm full of them today. At EA Summit, the FAA will actually be one of the presenters talking about sort of their road to being an event-driven organization and actually providing these live streams out to the public, to the airlines, in order to sort of let this aviation ecosystem actually function. So tune in for that if you're interested in sort of how did they do all of this. I think that'll be a very interesting talk.
Agreed. I think we're going to have a lot of excellent talks at the EDA Summit, including astronaut Chris Hatfield. I'm so excited about that. I'm really jazzed. And he's Canadian, so I like that too. Okay, so we got this is some of our flight data, right? We got flight data. There's all sorts of other data that we're going to be exploring and discovering, but this is one thing about it. One of the neat things about this demo, which I really like, is that you can actually do kind of geofencing or geo kind of filtering here. Draw a box around a certain area, and it'll actually restrict flights to just that area. How does it happen? Well, you can kind of get a hint. You can get a hint down here in the associated topic subscriptions. But that's not what today is about. Today is not about geo-filtering. I'll talk about that at some other point, I'm sure. But you can probably figure it out kind of just looking at these subscriptions down here. But for now, we're just going to leave that part. Okay, so yeah, use the hand to pan around the box. The blue, if you're playing with it, the blue square will delete everything. So let's get on with this. We're going to do a Solace Discovery scan. So first thing to do is log into the Solace Cloud Console. So let's do that.
Yeah. So why you do that? So why? Yeah. You know, as I kind of mentioned before, like why would you want to do a discovery scan? So if you're anything like myself when I was a customer or lots of other organizations, the challenge has been that you've adopted event-driven architecture in an incremental way, and as you sort of different teams, different groups have added data into this event-driven architecture, the challenge can be really sort of understanding what you have at this point. Maybe you've attempted to kind of keep track of documentation, but it hasn't been updated in a while. Maybe it's maybe you didn't really have much documentation, and now you're trying to want to kind of go figure it out now, or just like in the case of the FAA, it's just been around so long that sometimes people leaving the organization kind of causes some churn as to the right piece of data to the right person can be a little bit elusive. And so really the idea of discovery is to sort of peek into these different event brokers, in this case Solace's event broker, and sort of tease out what are the different events and application types that are actually providing data.
That's right. Yeah, it's I mean, people know Solace going back. We're all about brokers. We're all about connectivity and moving data around. We're now into this whole design your EDA, your event-driven architectures, and now we're going to kind of go full circle, right? We've kind of gone from designer into code generation to runtime, and now we're kind of reverse engineering from the runtime back into the designer, and it's
yeah. And I think it's funny that you said it in that way. That is the way that this product has evolved. But it's a little bit interesting in that really the biggest fundamental problem that we saw in industry was, where do you catalog what you have, right? And so we had to sort of lay that foundation of the building, allow you to sort of design what you have. But then, really what we have been working up to is, look, we know a lot of organizations are getting started with event-driven architecture. There's plenty of organizations that have been doing event-driven architecture for years. And so kind of the ability to discover what you have and ensure that what's in the catalog is sort of synchronized with the runtime, all of that kind of stuff continues to be sort of what we're working up to.
Right. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. So for those who haven't seen Solace Cloud, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but down here is where you kind of configure your brokers. If you want to stand up a Solace broker in the cloud of your choice, click on that, and you can pick AWS or GCP and build yourself up a broker, free broker. But we're going to be heading into the designer now. When you first log in with your free account, there's a demo kind of application here, Acme Rideshare, and inside it you'll have a bunch of apps and a bunch of events kind of moving around. So we can lay this out a little bit better later on, but that's kind of like what's the default. So if you just want to kind of click around and play with things, that's an easy way to start. We're going to be heading over to the designer though, or the discovery, sorry, the thing with the telescope here. And you'll see I got a couple scans already scanned from before, but I am going to, I want to run a new one. So how do I run a discovery scan? Click this little box. It's a little Docker container that you download and run locally on your broker, or near where your Solace is running. So the thing is, it's not Solace Cloud reaching out to your Solace broker. So if you're like on-prem, if you're behind a firewall or in your lab or wherever, the Solace Cloud does not have to talk to your broker. You download this thing and run it locally to there. It'll generate an output file, JSON output file, which you can then export into Solace Cloud. So yeah,
and keenly so, we aren't capturing any of your actual data. So from a security compliance concern, we think that that's pretty much minimized. And the other thing is, since it is just a JSON file, like if you are, say, in the healthcare industry or in the banking industry, and you've got scanning tools that look for patient information or credit card numbers and all that kind of stuff, feel free to run it through that just to show from a compliance perspective, you're not going to be leaking sensitive information by using this tool.
That's right. That's a really good point. Yeah, we do not look at the payloads. It's just the topic structure and kind of the association of the topics and subscriptions in your applications in terms of the routing information. So now I've already installed this. So yeah, basically you cut and paste this if you're using Windows. Hopefully you have WSL at this point. You're not actually using command prompt anymore. But if you were, or PowerShell, these are your Windows versions. You download this and it'll pull the file. So I have already got it here, Docker PS. And it's actually running. Oh, great, Docker PS. There it's running. So the discovery agent is running, and you can see that it is bound to port 8120. So let's go there. 8120, localhost 8120. All right, so here's the kind of GUI front end of the runtime discovery. Most people, I think, who have at least been in here have seen this before. We've had the topics metric scan for a while. The Kafka discovery, runtime discovery was released last September. I don't know, Jonathan?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's probably last September, October. I know it was definitely available in October.
That's right. So, a lot of people, when they think Solace, they don't think Kafka. But, we built into the event portal. The event portal is going to be completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Doesn't care what kind of broker you have. Help me out, Jonathan. I forget the words.
Yeah, so
agnostic. We'll have, be able to scan your MQTT infrastructure, other brokers, and import it in here to provide you with an event-driven view.
Yeah, that's definitely where we're going. So sort of we started out, just from a color perspective, we started out with a completely generic event portal that you could kind of model anything in a very, very simple way. We've now sort of doubled down into, really, I think, doing a good job of modeling Kafka and Solace. And then I think what you're going to see, hopefully by the end of the year, is the ability that you could pretty much scan anything that you want, as well as then import that in, whether it's Rabbit or IBM MQ or whatever, and sort of supporting a more generic model so that, you kind of tell us what your topic delimiter is for that, for that broker, what is the wildcard set that it uses. And then through all of our whiz-bangery, we'll know how to match your subscriptions to your data and all of that kind of stuff. So that's all coming, all part of our vision.
Awesome. Okay, so this is the new hotness that we're going to be looking at today, the Solace Runtime Discovery. Click on that, and you're going to get this page here with about 1 billion different fields to fill in. So you're like, oh my God, what is that? Now, if you have your own broker, you have a Solace dev appliance in your lab. If you have a broker running on your laptop, you should be able to fill all of this in. We're looking for both client connectivity, data connectivity to the message bus, as well as your SEMP connectivity, because it needs to scan some of the management, the subscription information that is available through SEMP. Back on the Codelab here, I haven't been keeping up here. Back on the Codelab, we're going to be logging into Solace Cloud. We've done all of that. And here is all of the details for plugging into the discovery agent if you want to scan the US Aviation data that we have running there. So username is public. I like planes. Read only for the SEMP username and password, et cetera, et cetera. Just copy and paste. I'm going to do the same just to make sure that it works. So
yeah. So why do you fill that out?
So give it a discovery name too. So I'll just call this Aviation 1. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah. So why do you do that? So one of the reasons why, we look at both sort of the admin interface as well as the messaging interfaces. So, one of the beauties of the Solace broker is that you don't have to sort of pre-provision and predefine your topics that you publish to, right? So that allows you a lot of flexibility to, decouple your applications, even decouple the sort of the configuration aspects from a publisher perspective. So that provides a lot of flexibility. However, it does admittedly make discovering what you have a bit tricky. So we use the admin interface to sort of go, okay, like what client delivery endpoints, aka what subscriptions exist, what queues exist, and what their topic is subscriptions. So that's what we're doing sort of with the admin or management interface. But in order to know what topics are being published, we actually will connect up to the broker as a messaging client, and we'll actually consume, for a given scan interval, we'll consume the data. And just basically figure out what was being published. In the future, I think we'll do a lot more things with data quality. And the other bit of a pro tip here that we're going to be adding to this console, so you don't mess yourself up, but like if you put on your topic subscription no local or something like that, I forget the exact syntax, but it's basically like, hey, if you're running a DMR mesh, like don't propagate this subscription everywhere so that all data comes to this one broker. That is strongly advised and suggested. In fact, I think we might have already added this. I think, Aaron, you might be using a slightly older version of this than maybe what's out there today. But if not, in the next week or so, you're going to see sort of some a little bit better direction on how you do your topic subscription so that it has the least amount of impact on your on the messaging backbone.
Yeah, I did a Docker pull on Monday, so if it's been updated since then, and R&D didn't say that they were going to update the agent, so I don't know. Maybe you have some cool data access.
Good. Well, yeah. So it's like that's the good news, bad news of software as a service. Things are always changing, which is good, except for also I also know what's coming, and I'm always like, when exactly does that come out? So yeah.
Which version are we on? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's a great point, though. Like if you are, using Solace in some kind of, meshed capability using DMR, turning on the greater than kind of like get everything wildcard could actually be a little dangerous. So keep that in mind. If you want to need to use a topic root, like Aaron / greater than, if you want to just scan the Aaron topic, that's also a good thing. So let's kick this off. Hopefully this says, yes, we're scanning. If it doesn't come back with an error in the first few minutes, then I think that that's a good thing. I probably should have run this while you were talking there, Jonathan. Apologies.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, let's check the chats here. All right, cool. So yeah, when this is finished, we'll then be able to import it into the where am I? Here we are. Yeah, of course, feel free to scan any broker that you have. I've run this in a couple different environments. I have a bus demo that I like to showcase every once in a while. We have a live taxi demo at taxi. I'll just as people have scanned this as well. sg.solace.com/taxi. This data is available at, I think Tamimi's going to have to correct me, but we actually provide this streaming data, taxis driving around New York, again, with kind of latitude, longitude coordinates in it. I think it's marketplace.solace.com, solace.dev, there it is. Marketplace.solace.dev. Hey, all the coordinates for our taxi demo. If you want to scan that instead, feel free. Okay, how's my thing doing? We are done. Now, I can either upload straight to Solace Cloud, or I can download the results. I guess if you're security conscious, you might want to say, I'm going to look at this JSON, see what's in there, or just save it for later. I don't know. You can either one, right? Doesn't really matter. I'll go ahead and upload it here directly to my personal account, my non-Solace account. Is that going? I'm not getting a little, there it is. All right. Sweet. And I'm going to download it. Why not? Just in case. We can take a look at it. 2S something.
Descriptive name.
Yeah. 2S. I got a few 2S's. 6D. Yeah, beautiful. That's I'm not gonna look at that. That's a bit much. I guess you could do something like this. Cat that, and then pipe it to JQ. Beautiful. Yeah. So we're just looking at a bunch of topics and topic structures, but who wants to look at JSON? Let's import this into the designer and see what we can see. So close this up. We should refresh this, and we should have a new discovery scan here. Whoop, skip that. Thanks. Oh, I haven't clicked on the catalog yet. There it is. Here's our new thing. So it's yellow because we haven't completed it. These guys are archived. If we scroll over here, you'll see that, yeah, they're archived. So we're looking at this one. All you got to do is click on these three dots, say import into the designer. I was going to say, which logical event mesh do you want to import this into? This is kind of a new concept, Jonathan. Do you want to explain this?
Yeah, sure. So, and I will say we searched high and low for a word or a existing terminology that matched. But essentially, one of the key tenets is if if we're going to deliver on our vision to support multiple event broker types, we need to be a little bit nebulous as to sort of how you have your brokers configured, right? So in the Solace world, you might have anything from a message VPN on a hardware appliance that just is by itself, all the way up to a MNR DMR mesh of multiple brokers across multiple VPNs across multiple geographies. But the key is that if any subscriber comes online and asks to make a subscription, basically the topic address space is shared across all of these brokers and data ubiquitously sort of flows across it. Other brokers have similar concept. ActiveMQ in clustering does something similar. Kafka, when you've got a Kafka cluster that uses, say, Mirror Maker to replicate everything from one to another and back and forth, the data is the same. And so really what we're trying to say here is logically, you have an event mesh, no matter how big or how small. What is a sort of your topic address space that this applies to? And that allows us to sort of take multiple discovery scans, merge in all of the sort of different information so that you have sort of a 360-degree view of what all is available within this logical event mesh.
That's right. Yeah, because you might not scan like the whole thing all at once. You're going to be scanning pieces of it, different parts of it might be different applications. So yeah, they're related contextually versus kind of more physically, I guess, and through the mesh, right? So
exactly. Now, I think if you think of it too, so let's say that you were running a large scale enterprise like the FAA in this example, right? Like you have event brokers all over the continental US supporting your mission, right? But that also means you have different consumers. Consumers are different in Atlanta than they are in New York Center, right? And so the idea of this discovery is you're going to go and scan all of your sort of different event brokers, but they all relate to the same event mesh. And so that's sort of the key here is, we've literally just scanned one broker. We found tons of stuff, but I think the real enterprise would be running multiple scans across multiple brokers to get that, that 360-degree view of what's available.
Yep. So here's a slice of what's available, right? So this is from our, 30-second or 60-second scan.
60
seconds. We picked up 6,000, just over 6,000 topics during that time. And this is some of the roots there. Just before I continue, just a shout out to Manish. Hello, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Good to have you here. I was one of our active members on the Solace community. Hey, if you're out there, Solace community is where we all hang out during our free time to answer Solace questions when we're not working too hard. All right, so topics, right. Now, as you can see, if I open these, it actually starts to kind of cascade a number of different topics. We're actually walking around inside the topic hierarchy. I could be looking at, now, Jonathan, I'm not super aware of all these different acronyms and everything. Do you want to give us a few of these here? We got this is weather service or something.
Yeah, so ITWIS is Integrated Terminal Weather System. Let's see what else. Studs, and it's funny because everything, anyone who works in large enterprise or especially with the government realizes everything is an acronym. Studs is surface data. So when your aircraft is taxiing around at a major airport, there's actually sensors looking to see what taxiways and ramps and stuff are the aircraft all on. FDPS is flight data position service, I think, or processing service. So that's sort of where the actual plane is once it's in the air.
Right.
And so one of the things as well that as we've gone through this, there's a lot of history to a lot of these data feeds. These data feeds didn't all come online at the same time. It was a many year evolution to having this rich of event-driven data within the enterprise. And so one of the things you'll see as you sort of navigate down is that they sort of didn't, their topic hierarchy, I would say, is a little bit of a hodgepodge just because of that evolution. And one of the things, if you're just getting started designing your topic hierarchy within your enterprise, is there's a topic best practices guide that we've come up with using all of our many years working at Solace and seeing what customers have done, we've helped to distill sort of, what are some best practices you can follow and try to apply within your organization so that you have as flexible of a hierarchy that also allows you to do sort of some very powerful things. So in this, one of the other architects, Ken Barr, and the CTO team worked very, very diligently on this. And one of the things that you're going to see over time with the event portal is the ability to sort of have these topic best practices, optionally applied to your organization so that, just using our tool, you actually are taking advantage in having them sort of enforced. So that's something that's going to come up, but you'll kind of see here that definitely the first position that we're seeing within the topic hierarchy tends to relate to like the source system. And then from there, you'll see sort of different things at different levels, and it kind of get, like I said, it's a little bit of a hodgepodge as you drill down. But all the data is super important, super powerful, and super useful, especially if you're an airline or an aviation user.
For this specifically, don't take this as best practices, right? This is kind of actual real kind of stuff.
Like this. And to be honest, this is probably unless you pretty much have started your event-driven architecture within the last couple of months, like this is your reality, right? Like, I think that's one of the things that excites me about this data stream is it's not sort of a vendor tainted. And I was already wrong on FDPS. It's the Flight Data Publication Service. Thank you, Robert. This is sort of the reality that any organization is going to be in, and I think the opportunity is also over time, being able to clean some of this up, apply some better best practices. And in fact, as again, you'll hear me discuss probably as we go through this, what are the pieces you want to advertise to others in a bigger way, right? What are the events here that provide the most value to the most users?
So we're going to see now how we can basically, now that the topic discovery scan is complete, we can actually start to build some of the topic hierarchies that our events want to use. One of the more recent additions to the designer portal is the ability to have variables in your topic hierarchy. So most people know that in Solace world, you have a hierarchical topic. Each topic level is a variable typically defined by the payload, sometimes routing information, but usually it's an attribute of the payload. And so each level can be either an enum or a completely variable string, a GUID, a timestamp, a location, whatever. And so as we start to build out this topic hierarchy, you can kind of see up at the top here that it's starting to fill it out. Now, I don't want to create an event for each and every one of these flight ID numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and select this whole thing. You'll see
while you do that, one bit of information on that as well is that what we're really trying to do, and I know this, we struggle with terminology sometimes, right? Is we're really trying to define the event type, right? So what we've really captured are tons and tons of event instances that went across the Solace broker, right? But if you're trying to manage and govern event types, really, these are all just aircraft position update types that happen to have lots of dynamic parameters like flight IDs and, probably origin and destination airport and all of that kind of stuff. And so what our presupposition here is that you don't want to be managing, what was that total number of enumerations we just squashed?
Yeah, 2,000.
Yeah, you don't want to manage things that sort of like unique IDs, like they are not enumerations, they're just infinite variables, right? So you don't want to try to track all of that, right? But number two is like things like origination and destination airport. You do want to have them as enumerations because maybe you are trying to do a study in the Northeast corridor for trying to get more and more traffic into the New York airports, right? So maybe you do want to specifically know that you can subscribe to JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark arrivals, right? If you don't have that as an enumeration, how would you know how to make your subscription?
Yeah, a pick list. You need a pick list. So totally.
Yep. Exactly.
And we're just using this data because this is the demo that we got here, right? This could be anything. This could be host names as total variables. This could be application IDs, which you have an enum because you have a directory of these in your company. These
customer ID, credit card number,
currency values, country codes. I mean, there you can. I hope that you can start to see that when you have an enum. And so here's an example. This is an enum, right? We're going to have a limited number of these types of statuses. So let's go ahead and create the next variable. So yeah, you highlight the things you want, you click the create variable, and we're going to call this status. And we're going to say, yep, these are actually an enum. So let's add a new enum. We'll call it status enum. Description, I don't care. So this is the ones that it scanned. Now I only scanned for 60 seconds, right? So it's possible that I missed some. I know, I think there's a canceled as well as a status, canceled. I think there's one other one that I can't quite remember.
Well, and this is where if you do, in the, coming soon, if you do a subsequent discovery scan, it will let you know, like, hey, I found another topic that looks like this that doesn't match what you already have. Like, is this a whole different thing, or do you want to sort of add it to the enumeration? One thing is, so two other things on this as well. Number one is dropped. Does not mean dropped from the sky in this case. It's that the flight plan, I guess, was dropped, or that the location was dropped. Maybe Robert can fill that in since he's our aviation buff. The other thing just to mention though is I've had questions about this pretty frequently so as you're going through this, right, it's always very tempting to do what you just did, which is create an enumeration. What the real question that you have to answer as a more domain expert is the data type for each of these all the same, in which case they can be one event type, or if really the payload schema is different from active and dropped and proposed, then these actually need to become different event types.
Yep.
So
I've run into that.
Yeah, that's sort of your mental decision-making process here as the domain expert of like, what do you want to do in this case? I actually don't know. So we're just going to say it's an enumeration, right? But you need to sort of know a little bit about your data, as you're going to go through this and ask some of those questions if you don't know.
That's right. So yeah, the thing to keep in mind here is if every active event is different than a proposed event, if they have a different payload, then they're going to have a different schema, and therefore we can't kind of squash or merge these at this point. So we're assuming here that, yeah, they're all going to have the same schema at the end of this thing. So completed was the other one there. So I've go ahead and create my enum. And if and when we have a nice GUI that can you choose, when you're viewing your library, you can kind of say, hey, this is my pick list of variables, right? So that's going to squash those down. Very cool. All right, let's keep drilling down here. What's next? All right, so we have these are call signs, if I'm not mistaken. So let's do that. Call sign, create that. We got a whole bunch of, there's some American Airlines. All the A's are at the top. It might be running a little bit slow since I'm, on the other side of the planet, right? It's I don't know how it was like there. All right, now we got some numbers. Cool.
What does that look like?
Yeah, right. This is hey, do you remember that? Remember this? Remember these? Hey, can you see that actually? Should I zoom in?
Yeah, I can see.
There we go. All right. So that's where those are coming from. So embedded actually inside the topic string is our latitude and longitude. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that, create a variable. Latitude. Definitely not an enum. There's it's a floating point number. Or at least it has floating point values. I don't know if it's it should be a number. All right, latitude. I'm assuming that next we're going to have longitude, right? Yeah, there we go. Minus 100, blah, blah, blah. That's US.
Yeah, so one thing that's really nice is, as you're going through these things, especially as you're, continuing to hone this, so let me actually step back. So right now, what we're doing in Discovery is simply a means to an end of getting this stuff in the catalog so that you can actually manage it, right? So one thing I would suggest is, in order to make this nice and usable for your users, there's multiple ways to display latitude and longitude. And since we're kind of removing the examples here by saying it's just an infinite variable, in the designer, you can actually go and add a description. So for instance, you might want to say that it is latitude and longitude in decimal degrees, where, negative is, west, positive is east, kind of a thing, so that people know how to make their subscriptions. Because if you just see latitude and longitude, how do you know, again, what your subscription would look like if you're looking for a specific value or box, kind of like you were showing, Aaron? So it's definitely important to document this stuff. So
definitely important to document it. And I think it might even go one step further, which is similar to the async API JSON spec schema, where you actually can define a regex to represent your data type. So if you want to be very specific, very accurate, it's always, 3 decimal places here and 5 decimal places there, or something along those lines. I'm hoping that we evolve the product to kind
Yep.
of
We
handle
have
that
plans
captured as
to
well.
actually allow you to, when you're creating these things, that you could actually like bring in your JSON schema of your data, and you can actually say, you know what, I want this value from your JSON schema and runtime to be put up there, which then it would inherit all of the sort of the JSON schema rules, as you just sort of said, right? So
Cool. Are we almost done? I think there's there's 2 more levels here. So just last, select all. This is a very deep topic hierarchy, simply because there's a lot of data that's being represented here in the topic. People might look at it and say, wow, that's a long topic, or there's a lot of variables there. But the answer to that is, by having this information inside the topic, it allows you to do, filtering and routing on different components, right? If you really want to look at certain speeds or certain headings, stuff like that, you could do it if it's actually in there. So which one's this? This is
is there a limit
I
to the
forget.
number of topics generated? Yeah, so
Speed X.
I don't believe we have a limit for this. Obviously, your performance will vary, right? The more variables that you're sort of trying to, for lack of a better term, squash right out of this, the less optimized your performance experience will be. But this is also why you want to sort of pick wisely your scan duration, right? So if you've got tons and tons of data and you sort of know that in a certain part of your topic tree that data exists, then this is where you could just subscribe to that subsection and go, I want to do a 5-second scan, right? So that that you're pretty much going to capture all your topic addresses and be able to map all of this correctly within that period. Whereas another area where, maybe there's only a couple messages every minute, right? You could scan that area for hours and try to capture that as best as possible. So there's some sort of, again, some domain expertise that you should know about your organization when kind of picking how you want to do this.
Right.
There was one other question earlier about staying up to date on the latest event portal stuff. Good question. So that, if you want to stay up to date, obviously joining the Solace community is one way of doing that. Another way of doing that is, of course, signing up for a free trial. You can play around with it. If you do that, then you really are going to get into our marketing email nurture, get lots of emails from me, I think, as well as you can check out the release notes, within our docs page. That's another good way to know sort of what the latest changes are. And then last, but certainly not least, there is the little bell icon on the bottom left side of the event portal, which notifies you, when new capabilities and features come out. So I think key is be in the community, number one, and sign up for a free event portal trial, and then you'll just be part of our customer base and being nurtured as you go through using it.
So once I've reached the bottom of the top, like the leaf of the topic tree, you can then create an event. It says, all right, here's your topic that we've defined. It is quite a bit long. I probably should have picked a shorter one. Give it a name, and which application domain do you want to register this event in? Now, because I'm using my freshly created default thing, I only have the Acme rideshare. I could dump it into there, but it's not rideshare. It's not Uber data. This is aviation data. So I'm going to make a new application domain called US Aviation Demo, create that event. It will go ahead and create a new aviation demo. And you can see I now have one event. Hurrah. I'm not going to sit here and do this for all of these. That would be painful for everybody. So I'm just going to park that for now. But that gives you the idea of how you essentially kind of can navigate through the topic hierarchy and kind of click on things, give it a variable name for a certain variable, and and import it. Now, one thing I do want to kind of plug for me, Jonathan, is navigating through the topic hierarchy in this view is one way to do it. But there are other ways to do it, and I think in terms of complementary, they kind of work quite well. So when you do your topic discovery scan, where is it? It's over here. Let's close this. So the other option down at the very, very bottom is a topic metrics discovery. And it's quite similar in terms of what it does and the type of data that it gathers. But what it does is it builds you a nice little graphical thing. I did this earlier today, so this data is like from this afternoon, but it builds you essentially a graphical representation of the exact same data. You'll notice here's all our root topics that we had before, STDS, blah, 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 TAS, SE. This is the one we did here, FDPS. You click on that and you can kind of recenter the graph. Here's my position data that we just did, right? And here's all the different call signs or whatever it was, flight IDs. And you can see that this is actually representing this data here. So if you wanted to kind of view your data in a graphical way, how do I know which ones I want to click on? Which ones are the busy topics? You can resort it by number of messages. Wow. So the studs, there's lots of studs. That's the most number of messages, I guess, there.
Yeah.
The flight data that
it's because you're a stud, Aaron. That's why lots of studs.
Go on. So that plane demo that we were looking at that was drawing on the map, that's only this. So that's just it's a lot of data that's being pumped out here. Isn't that bonkers? It's only where's the statistics up at the top there? 2.3% of the total is the FDPS, which is quite a bit. Anyway, that's the topic runtime. You can download that. You can play with that inside the Discovery agent as well.
Yeah, one thing to add too is like obviously, well, Aaron, I think you were the vision behind that view. So obviously, Cool Dev Ninja was digging that. So pat yourself on the back for that. And I think over time, you're going to continue to see sort of more and more of that even captured as metadata within the event portal, like when you're bringing this stuff in, because it is a good idea to know, okay, cool, like I like this event, I'm interested in this event. So how much actually is coming in on this event, right? Like,
yeah, that's right.
These are all very important questions that, if you're going to consume something, you might want to know about.
What are my busy topics? As an architect or maybe an operations person, I might want to know.
And even like I said, even as a consumer, you might want to know, because if you're building an application that you're expecting like a message an hour and you get bombarded with thousands of messages per second, like that's probably not going to be a good day for your application. So
just on that, so this was a 1 minute scan, all right? So 1 minute, 17 seconds, I received 60,000 messages and 100 megs of data. That's how much data is being pumped out of this. So yeah, it's a lot. Most of our other demo streams is not quite that
robust. Yeah. So I mean, good news, bad news for our demo time. Obviously, we're near a peak time here in North America from a flights perspective. It's much quieter around midnight, 2 a.m., but it is obviously also a 24-hour operation. When the passenger planes aren't flying, the cargo planes are. So
that's right. Okay, so that is topics, right? So we've looked at how to build an event. We're gonna see that here. We're gonna do some applications now. The other thing that it scans, the Solace Runtime Discovery, is queues and clients. And basically, we've come up with some new terminology again here. And this is scanning everybody that it can detect based on their subscriptions or based on their connections to the broker. So, this could be a queue endpoint. This could be a topic endpoint if you're a JMS user. If you're using just direct messaging, you're directly subscribed. We've called that a direct client endpoint. Again, trying to figure out names, things to work well. And you can see that there's a couple different connections here. I have an app called EVA Ground Crew that's subscribed to a particular topic. I have Ground Traffic 01 that's subscribed to, it looks like Airport ABC. All right, cool. Here's this is our map. These are our maps that were scanned at the same time. So yeah, we can kind of see some of the different information that was in there. Terminal info.
Well, and if you go up to the EVA Ground Crew one, like this certainly shows the power of nice hierarchies and topics of like, hey, obviously they're just interested in LA Airport and specifically flights that begin with their aircraft call sign, right? So, so this allows you to sort of slice and dice and just get the information filtered to like, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Obviously something with ground crews at LA and probably maybe getting them hotels or something when flights run late. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, but maybe that's what it is.
Could be arrival time, so like they're like as soon as it lands and it switches over to the studs system, they'll start getting, events on these topics, right?
Yep.
And yeah, like, because there's, topics are just ephemeral, they're just metadata in Solace. As you onboard new planes, new systems, new whatever, you just start publishing on them, and as long as you have a wild card, you'll pick up that new information without any kind of real changes. So very
Yeah,
powerful, very
and
flexible.
in this case, like unless you discovered it and you brought it into the event portal, how would anyone know that you could actually subscribe just to that data? Like this is sort of I feel like the chicken and the egg that has happened in event-driven architecture, where publish and subscribe is very, very powerful, but unless you know what's in it, you're not really reaching your full value potential that you could if you had it nicely cataloged and up to date. And if you're gonna be messing with studs and changing something, like you might want to notify the EVA ground crew customer people that says, hey, this changing is coming, or maybe you're going to deprecate that data. Like, the decoupling of event-driven architecture is awesome. It's also its kind of biggest weakness as it relates to managing and governing it, and that's really what our mission is at Solace with the event portal, is to solve that problem.
Yep. Now I've only done this once or twice, so I'm trying to figure out. Just do I like this? No, I don't want to do that. I want to. You can drag them, leave and discard. You can drag them onto the US demo, right? Oh, I could. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I got my subscriptions all pre-configured there. Let's try the ground traffic here.
You got to click.
That should add it to the US Aviation demo domain.
So click on it again.
Let's see
the EVA ground crew one, and like take that little, like you see the little like multi-boxy thing, yeah. Take that. Why is that not working?
Because we're live, buddy. It's I did this a couple times earlier today.
Oh, do a under US Aviation demo. I know why. Add an application called EVA ground. You think I know my own product better, but yeah, sorry. Yep. And like you can give that application like a great description. At this point, we don't care. And then you can say what application type it is. It's a standard application. Save. Now drag that to that application. So
that's right. Yes. Thank you so much. You have to create the kind of the designed application and then associate it with the scanned, discovered kind of consumer that is in there. So thank you, Jonathan. Boom. Ta-da.
Yeah.
Now we're going to associate that with.
So given it took me a minute and it took you a minute, I think it'll be nice that when you drag it and it won't let you drop it, it says you need to drag this to an application. So anyway, we will add that as an enhancement. So
that's right. But I mean, these names they happen to work out. There's like in Solace World, you have a client name, which is your like unique identifier within your message VPN. You also have usernames, which over here all of them are using public just because it's a demo. But if these were different applications, they would very much likely have different names. But neither of them might line up directly with your application, right? It could be a host name, it could be some kind of mumbo jumbo. So it takes a knowledgeable architect who's aware of the system to say, yeah, that guy is that guy, that guy is that guy. So
yeah, it takes somebody to really, I think, be the ringleader around why you want to do this, and then work collaboratively as a team to really, figure out the state of your event-driven enterprise. And then from there, life becomes much, much easier. The other thing I was just going to actually mention as well. So remember how I said in the very beginning that we basically had all these different topics, and all these different topics kind of represented data coming out of different source systems. So if we were going to do this for real, not in complete demoware, like this, like you would probably create different application domains for these different source systems. Because actually in the real world, which we don't have access to here, but like lots of these different systems are consuming, for instance, weather data in order to make decisions. So you would make an ITWIS, application domain, you'd pull in all of its kind of data types. And then as you went and you scanned other people, you'd actually start to see other systems subscribing to that data as well. Again, this is just sort of the data that's being provided out of the enterprise, But like if you're doing this within your enterprise, that's kind of a little bit of more of what you would be doing. So
yeah, these are very much different application domains, and yeah, the root topic is usually the dividing kind of place to put that. So
yep.
you know, most of the other demos that I've scanned will all have just one level here because they're one app, right? They're one demo, they're one thing. This is just a bunch of information all being published inside of one message VPN as a demo. So all right, so I've got a couple applications configured here. We got our EVA ground crew, we got a ground traffic ABC. I could add, a few more, blah blah blah. This is our map clients. Could add mapping clients if we wanted. I'm also creating a flight info publisher because all this data is actually coming from somewhere. As of today, Solace does not have the ability to detect publishing applications. It knows they're there. Obviously, it can scan all the topics that are coming in, but this is something we're going to be adding later on, is the ability to reach out and be able to associate topics to publishers. But it's not in the product today, but it will come soon. So that's
and it is important to obviously say, hey, these applications are actually the sources of the data for a variety of management concerns, lifecycle management concerns, and even just the I think I understand maybe what this data is, but you want to talk to maybe the guys that actually produce it. Well, who's the source application, and then in our tool you can put the owner as an example, so that you can go contact hey Aaron, you're the owner of Flight Info Publisher. Like, I need to know a little bit more about this data in order to decide whether it's of value to me. We enable all of that to be nicely documented and findable.
So I was just looking to see, we talked about studs position LAX data to see if I could see an EVA error, because like we had that one subscriber that was listening for it directly. Unfortunately not.
Yeah, we should have done Delta apparently, because I can see that.
Dials. We could kind of select a few here, and we could now go and make an event. How about I just make an event for the whole? Let's make LAX ground. Let's make an LAX ground. This is going to be studs LAX ground info event. Oh no, wait, this is the wrong thing. This is the variable flight call sign. Now, is that the same call sign or another call sign? That's where we have two different call signs in different parts of the hierarchy, eh?
Well, one's the flight ID, the other is the call sign. So they apparently are different. So
AX, there we go. And it's part of our US Aviation. So that's how you do this. You kind of just, you scan things in. I'm assuming there's going to be a REST API or something similar to help programmatically automate this stuff at some point. This is a beta. This is kind of like the first crack at it. Dealing with the hierarchical topic structures with variables and all sorts of things in the Solace world is a little bit more complicated than maybe in the Kafka topics. Maybe that's why we came out with the Kafka discovery scan first.
Right.
But I've got a couple events. We can go ahead and let's go to return to the designer. So we're done with we're done with our discovery. Let's park that for now. And now you can see I got actually two things, domains. So let's double click on the US Aviation demo, and it's already connected up some of the information. That is awesome. So I have my ground traffic ABC listening to that part of that event. I have my EVI ground crew listening to some LAX data. Obviously, my publisher here is publishing both of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that. Me as the knowledgeable application architect, right? So this is not something that the discovery agent does automatically, but this is something that we can now come here and add on after the fact. So I'm going to manage these events. I'm like, oh, all right. We are publishing on the position event. We're also seeing some of the other exported events, right? So events that are not in the rideshare that are available across the domain. So, I could, if I had too many of these, I'd probably want to just filter these. It's probably too many, but we only have two of these events here. All right, save that. Ta-da! All right, there we go. So you can start to see how, now we're back in the designer. This is the designer that we've had for the last, year and a half. You can help build your event-driven architectures. because we don't do kind of reverse engineering of the payload at this point, the schemas that are associated with these events are currently blank. So if you came in here, you say I want to edit this. Let me see if I remember all my event portal buttons and tips and tricks. Schema. Yes, I need to add a new schema. So let's create a new schema. SDDS studs position schema. It's going to be JSON. I think I have one lying around actually. I think I knew it was going to be discovery. Yeah, this one. Yeah, let's copy that. Perfecto. And paste that there. Look at that. And it gives me a nice I don't know, preview example. Now, just due to the data that this demo is, everything's a string. That's probably not as intended. We're probably gonna have to go and fix that up at some point. But right now, everything's a string, so that's why it's showing it like that.
Right.
Hit save. I now have a schema associated with this event, which means that this application, my EVA ground crew, is receiving this event. Is kind of, if that's the only thing he wants to receive, I'm now kind of fully defined at that point, right? So we've scanned this thing, the real-time view of this thing, seen that association, seen that event, added the schema to it. But let's say we wanted to actually generate a new version of this. What could we do? Double-clicking on the application, obviously we could go into it and start to do async API code generation, right? Full circle here, download the YAML file. There we go. EVA ground crew.yaml. Let's take a look at that. This directory. All right. I just need to cut and paste in my async API code generation. Now, code generation is not supposed to be part of this this broadcast. I kind of want to throw it in just at the end, just to prove that it does work. We have another great example of it. Mark has done a Codelab and a live stream video of code generation with Solace. But now it's like we've scanned this thing, we've added a schema. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of run this code gen. So I'm just gonna run it right from here. Just double check that is up and running. Yeah, so this is the async API spec. If you're not familiar with async API, asyncAPI.com or .org will take you there, and you can learn all about this open source initiative on how to define event-driven applications. I'm just going to go ahead and create a temporary directory. -p, it's going to take too long. I'm just going to cut and paste it here. So artifact ID, there's a bunch of different command lines here, or a bunch of different parameters. Let's go ahead and paste that in. So essentially, we're kind of defining the Java package names. We're going to be building a Spring Cloud Stream app. You can pre-populate it with your username, hostname. One thing I need to add is my YAML file name. And that was Eva ground crew.yaml. And we're running the Java Spring Cloud Stream template generator. There's Python generator. There's some other ones as well. Let's hit go on that. And fingers crossed, we get a happy face. Yes. All right. CD temp, look here. We have some files. ls source, main, Java, blah, 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 blah. There's some files. And this is actually a Spring Cloud Stream project. So if I go ahead and boot up Spring, where is it? All right. Dun, 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 dun. Software. 1 second. Users, Aaron. Software. Oh, so exciting. There we go. The Spring Cloud Spring Tool Suite. This is built on Eclipse. I haven't tried the Visual Studio Code version yet, but there's extensions for Spring Cloud Stream as well. Get this booted up. We're just going to prove that this generated code from Discovery is actually runnable inside as a Spring app. So let's import existing major project.
Yeah, once you do that, let's also go back and add another subscription to the guy and kind of show, now that you've imported it, how easy it is to sort of make subscriptions. I think that'll be cool.
Oh my gosh. All right. What am I doing? Let's see. Downloads. Temp. Select. Go.
Yeah, maybe too while you're doing this. So the benefits, I think are pretty enormous. It's, async API has been out. It actually just got adopted by Linux Foundation. So, congratulations certainly to Fran and the whole team, Lucas, everybody for, really making this a real specification, getting it in Linux Foundation. Really there's two big aspects, I think, right now to async API. One is documenting, your event-driven, application and what capabilities it provides, and the other being, that you can even then go into code generation, right? So we, from a Solace perspective, contributed this Spring Cloud Streams code generator, and really the idea that is to make this nice and easy, as you're showing here, of if you define your application in the event portal, or you discover your application in the event portal, then we'll generate you sort of the entire Spring Cloud Stream project with the the POJOs related to the data, and even decorate the application as to sort of what is it supposed to be consuming, what is it supposed to be producing, so that you spend more time adding the business logic, like as you just showed there, Aaron's the add business logic here kind of a comment is where you spend all your time versus like trying to figure out Spring and wiring all this stuff, and what does the data actually look like. So really it's a huge productivity increase. It's still early days. If you compare it, if you go in with the this is really the state of the art modern way to do event-driven application development, knowing also that this has never been possible before, I think you're going to be pretty wowed and amazed. I think conversely, if you come from, say, the synchronous RESTful world with Open API, you're going to be a little bit like, well, maybe my favorite language isn't yet supported or whatever, but that's because Open API only has like a decade advantage of time over async API. So to that end, you can always build your own Spring Cloud Stream code generation template. You can build it to be specific to your organization, your language, whatever you really want to do. It's a really flexible way to enable higher development speed and agility within the organization. So now I'm plugging async API, but be part of their community as well. Like, build tooling to help us all make this easy, whether it's for your company or for anyone who wants to sort of do it the modern way, which is the event-driven way.
Yep. So here's their GitHub, where they have all sorts of stuff, generators for all sorts of different languages and all sorts of things. So super fantastic there. All right. So where am I? Application designer. So that's my design. Okay. So I've exported that. If we want to make, I don't know, add a new, do you want to create what else do you want to do, Jonathan? I think that's about all I was gonna.
Well, yeah, so I'm going to throw you a curveball here, Aaron, and see how you respond.
Oh my gosh,
so
I'm still learning too.
I know, we all are. So go into the Ava Ground Crew application, and let's say for a minute that we're a week or two down the path, and like we want to have this guy consume more data, right? So one way we could do this is obviously go through the catalog and basically model him consuming an event.
Yep. The catalog being here, which if we had them all imported, there'd be literally probably hundreds of events in here, right?
Exactly. So if we find something in here again that's of interest that is aviation related, let's say that like maybe just the regular flight position update, not the LA one. Let's like add that to him.
To this guy.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can do that. All right. So, well, I mean, from the designer, you can either go into the application specifically here, or just double click on this guy to go in and view him. Yeah, ideally, we would have gone through the exercise of importing all of those topics and creating the events. But I say, okay, here's my event. This is the one I've received. I'm going to edit this guy. Look at that description. Beautiful. Blah, 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 blah. So, yes. Right now
on the right side, click Manage.
Manage.
and find that other, just the FDPS position event. So subscribe to that. So the very last.
Hey, but look, hey, it's showing me no event. Did I deconfigure it? I must have deconfigured it.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, just subscribe to that guy and
that guy. Done. Just
yep.
go and click. Say which ones you want. Done, done, done. Hit save.
Okay, so now you can see that that relationship's been formed. And then if you go again into the EVA Ground Crew application and click edit, we could define the client delivery endpoint specific for that data. And I just kind of want to show how nice it is to make subscriptions now, right? So
I haven't done this yet.
Yeah, so click in here and click edit at the top right. Click again, client delivery endpoints tab. Click the little create client delivery endpoint.
Yes, this is what it was scanned with, right? This is because we associated with the scan.
Right. So now, like, we could just say, like, you know, position update queue as a name. Let's just say. And then pick the logical event mesh for aviation, whichever one. Yep. And then
I got a couple. Look at that.
I know, has me a bit confused, but that's okay. So then type, you know, this is where you get to pick, like, do you want an event queue, which is just a queue subscribed to, you know, that has topic subscriptions? Do you want it to be a durable or a direct client endpoint? So we'll do an event queue.
Which is our best practice for doing kind of guaranteed messaging. So yeah.
Pop, you know, you can optionally pop in a client username that you'd want to connect. Sure. Public. And then click the magical add subscriptions button. And you can do it by events or manually. I would do it by events because we have nicely modeled this. So now what we can say is, you know what, like, we already know the LAX data is consumed by that other queue. We could also consume it into this queue, but like, we want to consume flight position update events. So click the plus sign. And then the beauty of this now is
very cool.
You can be like,
I didn't know this.
I want just like click on status as an example, like,
because we have an enum there.
That's an enum, like, oh, there's our enumeration, so I just want active, and you know, if you can kind of
maybe this ground crew wants canceled information, so maybe this is actually why he wants to listen to these datas, right?
Maybe so. So if you now click add subscription, right? Boom, there's that subscription that includes canceled. And in fact, you could change canceled and say, you know what, I also want to do dropped. And you can click add subscription. And so now this queue is ultimately consuming two different parameters of that data, but it's still all the same data type, which was that position update event, right? So you can, and yeah, exactly. Now add that guy if you want. And
maybe, you know, get rid of, you know, one of the other ones, right? Like
whatever you want to do.
I want to be more specific. Yeah. Very cool.
The world is your oyster now, like that you manage your event types. It makes it super easy for people to just figure out what they want.
Cool. Select that. Add subscriptions. Boom.
Yeah, so the reason I had to go there was, you know, to really try to answer Codelabs' question around how are the dynamic portions of the topic presented in the event portal. Well, there's multiple ways of doing it, but really, like, that's the most powerful way I know of is like, hey, I'm a keener, I want to consume some data, right? Like, why did you go through all this effort to do this? Well, that is the reason why you went through the effort to do it. Well, there's many other reasons, but you get my point. And then it looks like, you know, one other question from Codelabs, you know, does this discovery feature only work with Solace brokers? No, it actually works also with Kafka. So it works with, you know, Kafka, open source, Confluent, MSK, you know, whatever you really want. And the idea, you know, there is not to be a replacement, say, for Confluent Control Center or whatever. Really, the idea is that you want to sort of harvest your system level events and then, you know, really curate them. And as you're going to see in the next month, you know, bring them in, decide which, you know, events have value, and curate event API products that you then expose to others. So very similar in this FAA case, where there's actually way more data that exists within the FAA than, you know, just what we're scanning. Not all of that gets exposed to everybody, but really kind of the FAA is well ahead of their time in sort of providing event API products out to the community, and we're just kind of being exposed to that. But really the idea is, when you do a discovery scan, Aaron kind of alluded to this before, you're going to find not only sort of the gold and the high value things in your organization, you're also going to find stuff that isn't all that exciting, right? Like maybe logging events, right? Or just, kicking off a process between, two event-driven integration processes, right? Like these aren't
consumers that you didn't know about, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I mean, like
old ones.
There's things of value and there's things of less value. The goal that we really want with the event portal is that you can elevate the value discussion of these event-driven assets that you've already created. And so, that's really, a very, very important aspect to this, of why you'd want to do it with Kafka or Solace, or ideally in the future, why you'd like to do it with any of your event broker types.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, Jonathan, you actually taught me something I didn't know, which is
that never happens. Usually it's you there teaching me. So.
Dude, this stuff is so new that I bet you half of Solace is still learning some of this stuff. So you probably taught a lot of people a few things. So I'm really happy about that. Hey, thanks for joining. I think we can wrap it there. It's a little early, but I think we've shown everything that we need to show. The Solace Discovery Scan is available in your Solace Cloud account. If you want to run it in your environment, feel free to download it. It's a Docker container. Just run it in your wherever you have data. And we have some demos. We're going to post on our Codelab. We're going to post more demos and event streams that you can listen to. The Codelab ones are going to stay up there, and I'll update the URLs if they move. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining. As
Thanks
always,
for having me.
Pleasure. Yeah. And thanks to the people behind the scenes operating the banners and the buttons and everything, because I can't do everything at once. So that's really nice that whoever is back there is doing that. So I think Mark or Mimi or whoever. So awesome. Well, Jonathan, thanks a lot, and have a good one. We'll see you later. All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.